Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I've been working on this Sega Master System. It works pretty good with the built-in games. The video looks pretty good, all that stuff. The problem I'm having is it won't read any cartridges, and I've got a few of these, but this is an example. I've tested this cartridge in 2 other Master Systems and it works just fine. I have taken this apart, I've cleaned it, I've cleaned the cartridge port, you know, just all the easy stuff. So let me show you what it's doing real quick, just so you can get an idea, and just in case you have one that's doing the same. Okay, so this is what it does when there's no game in there. And this one does have the built-in games. It's got Hang On and Safari Hunt. I can go in to say Hang On. Oh. And the games work fine. So you can see I'm not very good at this game, but it works. So when you put a cartridge in, and I've tested this cartridge, this is Enduro Racer. I've tested this on 2 other Master Systems and it works just fine. So we'll pop that in there. And it goes back to the built-in games. So there's something going on with the cartridge port. I've already done a little bit of troubleshooting on this, and I think I know what the problem is, and I'll show you how I got to that conclusion. So let's get back over to the bench. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to take this apart. They're just a bunch of screws. I'm not gonna video that. There's lots of videos of, just in case you need more help. But we're gonna take all the screws out. We're gonna take the RF shields out and take this completely out of the case. Okay, so I've got it out of the case. There's a ton of screws. You'll also notice that I have taken the game out of its shell right here. So this is how I kind of was troubleshooting this. So I put the game in the slot, you know, because I already cleaned this, and then I took my multimeter and I went from pin to pin right here over to the bottom of the board back here on these pins here, just to make sure that I had continuity, which I did. So that all looked good, so I didn't need this anymore, and I ruled out that this was dirty or whatever. You know, I was just touching each probe on one of the pins on the cartridge board itself. I wasn't touching them on here. So once I got that figured out, I started to trace these out, doing the same thing from each connection, and then I would follow where it went. So for instance, let's so for, say, this one here, we hit there and then we just follow this line and I've got continuity. I did that to every pin on here, and every pin toned out except for one, and it was this one here. this was covered over with some solder. So I pulled the solder out with some of this solder wick right here. And there's a broken trace on there. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show this on my camera because I'm kind of using a GoPro. It doesn't like to focus, but it's that pin down there. Anyway, it's got a broken trace. So that's how I got to this point. So I need to repair that trace, and it should be pretty simple to do. There's different ways that people like to do this. Since it's so close, I'm going to scrape off some of the solder mask on this trace here, and I'm just going to put a solder blob on there. Now you can use a piece of wire, the leg off of a small capacitor, what have you, a sandwich tie off of a loaf of bread. If it was a big section that was missing, then you would want to bridge that. But since this is just barely broken across there, it's not going to take much. So I'm just going to scrape that off, put a solder blob on there, and then we'll test it. So I'm going to get my iron heated up and scrape that off, and we'll get it fixed. Okay, so how I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to use my little blade here. I do have a fiberglass pencil. Sometimes these work okay, but sometimes they don't. And it is working, but I want to have a good connection, so I'm just going to take my little blade here and gently, I'm not gonna cut it this way, I'm just going to drag it across. I just want to make sure that I get that off of there like that. And I'll come back with this and we'll see how we're doing here. Okay. Now to make sure that I have a good connection, we'll take my multimeter here. I'm going to follow this up, and I already know it goes to this point right here. And I'm not touching the pin, because I touch the pin, there's nothing. So you can see I've got continuity back here. So now, I'll put that away. So now I can just put a solder blob on there, and hopefully that'll do the trick. So I am going to use some flux. I have a bunch of different kinds of flux. I really like using these flux pins, so you don't overdo it. So I'm just gonna, that's really all you need. And my iron's heated up. Let's grab some solder here. Now this isn't going to take very much, so I'm first going to do the pin. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to drag that across. like that. Okay. Let me check this with my magnifier here. All right. So, I'm going to break this out again. So now I'm going to go from this point here to the pin. I should have continuity, which I do. So let's take this back to my TV and we'll see if it works. Okay, so here's the board. This is the game. I didn't bother putting it back in its case yet, just in case this doesn't work. I haven't tried it yet, so you guys are going to see if this works or fails the same time I do. So let's get this hooked up. Let's hook this up first, so we have a controller in there just in case. And we'll do our RF. And there's our power. So let's turn on the TV. All right, you guys crossing your fingers? I am. So let's turn this on. So far, so good. All right, it's working, guys. So just that one little trace wasn't getting contact from the cartridge, so the system didn't think that it had one in there. So I think we lucked out with this one. That was an easy repair. I've seen guys have to pull chips and replace chips and recap them and all that other stuff. I mean, you can see the video. Now this is an LCD TV, but I'm going through RF, and that looks really good. Let's turn this down. And let's make sure it actually works. I like this game because it's like Excite Bike. I grew up as a Nintendo kid, but I also had one of these back in the early 90s, and I did have this game. So it looks like everything's working good. So that's a good thing. So let's just make sure it goes in there again. Perfect. And let's take it out. And let's just make sure that our built-in games are still there. And they are. That's great. Perfect. I'm excited about this, guys. So I did a short video on replacing all the contacts in this controller. I'll upload that about the same time as this one. So if you haven't watched that already, go give that one a look. All right, so let's take this back in there, put it on the bench, and put everything back together. Okay, so before I put this back together, I did put some flux on there. So I got some isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. Let's just give it a quick little clean there. Let's clean that one. We'll clean this one. You know, just kind of everywhere. All right, so that's going to be good. So I think this was a pretty easy fix to do. It didn't take me long to figure this out. Just with some troubleshooting. You know, if you've got a multimeter, it could even be the cheap Harbor Freight ones. Not sure how well you can see that trace there that was repaired. It's right here. You know, and again, it was just, you know, scraping off some solder mask and then just dragging the solder over onto it. And that's all it needed. And now we've got a working system. That's great. So I'm not gonna film putting in, you know, these 29 screws, I think, or 19 screws, however many there are. So I'll be back when I get this together. Alright, so we got it all back together, and you know, this one's got a few scratches here and there. There's a guy, I was watching a video, he is making replacement covers for this, so if you got one that's messed up, you could reach out. But other than that, you know, physically this thing's in great shape. And I did replace the 7805 in this because it wouldn't power on when I first got it, and the only other problem was, of course, this cartridge that we just fixed. So if anybody's curious of the model, I'll flip this over for you. But that's going to do it for this video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.